Emotional strength isn't something we're born with. It's something we build over time. Every single one of us faces challenges that test our emotional resilience. But what if I told you that we have the power to strengthen our minds and hearts, just like we build muscle? It all comes down to habits. Yes, the small, seemingly insignificant choices you make every single day shape your emotional strength in ways you can't even imagine. Have you ever wondered how some people seem to navigate life's stormy seas with ease, while others get tossed around by the smallest one? It's their habits that make the difference. Habits that fortify the mind, protect against negativity, and help build unshakable emotional strength. But here's the catch: emotional strength doesn't happen by chance. It takes effort, awareness, and most importantly, a willingness to change the way we think, act, and react. If you've ever been overwhelmed by negative emotions, paralyzed by fear, or crushed by stress, you know how draining it can be. It feels like the weight of the world is pressing down on you. But what if I told you that these emotions are not your enemy, that you can transform them into tools for growth? Yes, you can. Emotional strength is built through consistent effort, and it's never too late to start. Whether you're dealing with personal hardships, work stress, or just the everyday ups and downs, the habits you choose today will determine your emotional future. And here's where it gets exciting. Emotional strength isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is okay. No, it's about learning to navigate those emotions with awareness, compassion, and control. Imagine a world where you don't react impulsively to every little thing that annoys or triggers you. Imagine feeling grounded no matter what life throws your way. That's the power of emotional strength. That's the result of building habits that nurture your emotional resilience. So let's take a moment and ask ourselves, how often do we let our emotions control us, rather than the other way around? How often do we feel defeated by our negative thoughts, overwhelmed by anxiety, or discouraged by setbacks? It happens to all of us, but it doesn't have to. The difference between emotional strength and emotional fragility lies in the habits we practice every day. The choice is in your hands. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a friend of yours, someone who always seems to stay calm in the most chaotic situation. But what you don't see is the daily routine they've built, the practices they've put in place to develop their emotional resilience. They've trained their mind to be strong. And the truth is, emotional strength is something anyone can achieve, regardless of background or experience. You too can develop this strength starting today. Are you ready to begin? Now let's talk about the science behind emotional strength. Neuroscience shows that our brains are incredibly adaptive. The concept of neuroplasticity tells us that we can rewire our brains, changing old patterns of thinking and responding. This means we have the ability to cultivate habits that foster emotional resilience. Every time we make a conscious effort to strengthen our minds, we are literally rewiring the neural pathways in our brains, making emotional strength not just a possibility but a reality. Isn't that powerful? Emotions are often seen as obstacles in our lives, but they don't have to be. Think of them as signals, messages from our minds that tell us where we need to grow. Emotional strength doesn't mean avoiding emotions. It means learning how to respond to them in healthy, constructive ways. It's about moving from a place of reaction to a place of control. Picture this. Every time you face a challenge or feel your emotions starting to spiral, you have a toolkit, habits that allow you to stay grounded and steady. These habits are your emotional armor, designed to protect you from the chaos that surrounds you. They give you the power to choose your response rather than simply react. But let's be honest here. Emotional strength isn't easy. If it were, everyone would have it. It requires consistent effort and practice. It means confronting your fears, facing your insecurities, and making the decision to not let your emotions dictate your actions. But don't worry. You don't have to do this alone. There are proven habits you can adopt today that will help you build your emotional resilience. These habits will empower you to face life's challenges head-on and thrive. No matter what. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you truly reflected on your emotions, not just brushed them off or ignored them, but really paused and asked yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is this emotion trying to teach me? Reflection is one of the most powerful habits to build emotional strength. By reflecting on our emotions, we learn to understand them better, reducing their hold over us. When we understand our emotions, we don't have to fear them. Instead, we can use them as stepping stones to becoming stronger. Finally, let's talk about the importance of self-compassion in building emotional strength. It's so easy to be hard on ourselves, to criticize ourselves when we mess up or when things don't go according to plan. But emotional strength thrives on self-compassion. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to a close friend. Instead of beating yourself up, you can lift yourself up. And this act of kindness towards yourself builds a deep, unshakable foundation of emotional resilience. Building emotional strength doesn't happen overnight. It takes dedication, practice, and time. But the best part, each small habit you adopt compounds over time, building layers of resilience that make you stronger than you ever thought possible. It's like training for a marathon. At first, running just a mile feels impossible. But through consistent effort, your stamina grows. And suddenly you're running distances you never imagined. That's the power of habits. Each action, no matter how small, brings you one step closer to the emotional strength you desire. So let's begin with one of the most powerful habits to cultivate: mindfulness. Have you ever felt like your mind is racing, bouncing from one thought to the next without any control? We all know the feeling. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing your focus back to the present moment. It's about being fully aware of your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without judgment. When you practice mindfulness, you stop being at the mercy of your emotions. Instead, you learn to observe them, accept them, and choose how to respond. In this way, mindfulness gives you the power to separate yourself from your emotions, creating the space needed for emotional clarity. It's like pressing pause on a chaotic moment and taking a deep breath before deciding your next move. But let's be real, mindfulness isn't always easy. Our lives are filled with distractions, and our minds love to wander. But the beauty of mindfulness is that it's a skill you can cultivate. Every time you make a conscious effort to focus on your breath, to slow down, and to be present, you strengthen your ability to control your emotional responses. Just think about it. In those moments of stress or anger, being able to pause and center yourself can completely change the course of your reaction. You won't just be swept away by the flood of emotions. You'll stand firm, grounded, and ready to handle whatever comes your way. Another powerful habit to build emotional strength is developing a positive mindset. Sounds simple, right? But the truth is, this habit is a game changer. It's easy to fall into the trap of negativity, especially when life gets tough. We all know that voice in our heads that loves to remind us of our failures, our mistakes, and our shortcomings. But here's the thing. Those negative thoughts are not fact. They're simply the stories our minds create based on past experiences. The power of a positive mindset lies in choosing to rewrite those stories. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, focus on what went right. Instead of ruminating on your fears, focus on your strengths. A positive mindset doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. No, it means acknowledging the difficulties, but choosing to see them as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. Imagine being able to face adversity and think, I can handle this, or this challenge will make me stronger. That's the attitude of someone with emotional strength. And guess what? With practice, you can train your mind to think this way. It's all about reframing your perspective and replacing negative thought patterns with more empowering ones. You know, another powerful habit that might surprise you is self-discipline. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't self-discipline more about willpower than emotions and your... But here's the connection. Self-discipline is the ability to control your impulses, to make decisions that align with your long-term goals rather than short-term desires. And when you practice self-discipline, you build emotional strength. Think about it. Every time you resist the urge to procrastinate, give in to a destructive habit, or react impulsively in a moment of stress, you're strengthening your emotional resilience. You're proving to yourself that you have the power to stay calm, make thoughtful decisions, and push through discomfort. This habit will allow you to take control of your emotional state, instead of letting external factors dictate how you feel. And speaking of taking control, have you ever heard the term emotional regulation? It's the ability to manage and adjust your emotional responses to different situations. In simple terms, emotional regulation is all about not letting your emotions take the wheel and drive you into reactive, destructive behaviors. It's about knowing when to take a step back, breathe, and choose your response. This habit requires emotional awareness, which means understanding what triggers certain emotions and why. Once you understand this, you can practice regulating those emotions before they take a... Think about it. The next time you're feeling overwhelmed by anger, frustration, or sadness, imagine being able to pause, take a deep breath, and calmly assess the situation. Wouldn't that feel amazing? That's the power of emotional regulation. It helps you navigate life's challenges with a sense of control and stability. And just like any other habit, emotional regulation improves with practice. The more you use it, the stronger your emotional foundation becomes. Let's not forget the importance of healthy relationships in building emotional strength. You've probably heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And there's truth to that. Surrounding yourself with people who support you, uplift you, and challenge you to grow can significantly impact your emotional resilience. But here's the kicker. It's not just about having people around you, it's about having the right people. Emotional strength thrives in environments where there's mutual respect, trust, and understanding. It flourishes in relationships where people communicate openly and support each other's emotional well-being. And if you want to be emotionally strong, you need to prioritize relationships that nurture your growth and avoid those that drain you. The connections you form with others have the power to strengthen your emotional foundation, so don't underestimate their influence. A positive, supportive network is like an emotional safety net. When life gets tough, these people help catch you and lift you up. But remember, relationships are a two-way street. You can't expect to be emotionally strong if you're not also being a source of strength for others. Being emotionally supportive in your relationships is just as important as receiving support. It's about creating an environment of mutual growth and emotional resilience. Now let's talk about the habit of gratitude. I know, gratitude is something we've all heard about. And maybe you're thinking, how can something as simple as gratitude really make me emotionally strong? But trust me, it works. Gratitude has been scientifically proven to increase happiness, reduce stress, and improve overall emotional well-being. When you practice gratitude, you train your mind to focus on the positives in your life rather than getting bogged down by the negatives. It shifts your focus from lack to abundance, from problems to solutions. Gratitude isn't just about saying thank you for the good things. It's about recognizing the value in every experience, good or bad. The act of giving thanks, even for the smallest things, helps to reframe your perspective. Imagine being able to face a difficult situation and think, what can I be grateful for in this moment? That's emotional strength in action. It doesn't mean ignoring the challenges you're facing, but it means finding something positive to focus on, no matter how small it may seem. And just like mindfulness, the more you practice gratitude, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, you'll find yourself becoming more resilient, more optimistic, and more emotionally strong. Finally, let's talk about rest and recovery. I know this one might seem a little counterintuitive. After all, how can resting help build emotional strength? But hear me out. Emotional strength requires balance. You can't pour from an empty cup. And if you're constantly burning the candle at both ends, your emotional reserves will quickly deplete. Rest and recovery are essential to maintaining your emotional health. It's during these moments of rest that your mind and body recharge, allowing you to approach challenges with renewed energy and clarity. Self-care isn't just about bubble baths and massages. It's about giving yourself the space to relax, recover, and reset. You need rest in order to be emotionally strong in the long term. Now that we've covered a few foundational habits, let's dive deeper into some strategies that really build that emotional muscle. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have this unshakable calm, even in the face of adversity, while others crumble under pressure? It's because they've mastered the art of detachment. This doesn't mean being cold or indifferent. It means developing the ability to detach yourself from situations emotionally when necessary. Detachment is the ability to view challenges with a sense of objectivity, allowing you to respond to them without being overwhelmed by emotion. Think about it. When you can step back from the immediate emotional charge of a situation, you gain the clarity needed to make thoughtful decisions. But detachment doesn't happen by accident. It's a habit that requires practice. One of the best ways to begin developing detachment is by taking a mental step back whenever you feel emotionally charged. Instead of reacting impulsively, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what's the bigger picture here? What's really at stake? This shift in perspective allows you to see beyond your initial emotional response, helping you make decisions that are based on logic rather than a momentary feeling. Over time, this will make you more emotionally resilient. able to face difficult situations with grace, clarity, and a level-headed approach. Detachment doesn't mean disconnecting from your emotions. It means choosing when and how to engage with them. Let's move on to a habit that's equally transformative. Emotional expression. I know what you might be thinking. Isn't emotional strength about controlling my feelings, not letting them out? Well, not exactly. Emotional expression is actually a key component of emotional strength. Suppressing your emotions may seem like the strong thing to do in the short term, but in reality, it only leads to emotional bottling, which is incredibly damaging in the long run. True emotional strength comes from expressing your feelings in a healthy, constructive way. It's about finding safe outlets to release the pent-up emotions we all carry inside, whether that's through writing, talking to someone you trust, or even physical activity. When we keep our emotions locked away, they fester and grow, eventually leading to stress, anxiety, or even anger. But when we allow ourselves to express those emotions, we release the tension that builds up and restore emotional balance. Healthy emotional expression is like opening a valve to release the pressure before it builds up too much. And here's the best part. Expressing your emotions doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. It shows emotional maturity and the ability to process your feelings in a healthy way, rather than letting them control you. The more you practice expressing your emotions openly, the more emotionally resilient you'll be. Another essential habit to cultivate emotional strength is cultivating gratitude in the face of adversity. I know it sounds like a tall order. How can you possibly feel grateful when everything seems to be falling apart? But hear me out. Gratitude isn't just about feeling thankful for the good moments in life. It's about finding gratitude even in the most challenging situations. When life doesn't go as planned, it's easy to get caught up in frustration, disappointment, or even despair. However, practicing gratitude in these tough times can shift your entire outlook. Instead of focusing on the things you can't control, you begin to appreciate the lessons, the growth, and the strength you gain from every set. Gratitude in adversity isn't about ignoring your pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that even in the darkest moments, there is something to learn, something to be thankful for. Whether it's the resilience you're developing, the new perspectives you're gaining, or the opportunities for growth that adversity provides, gratitude can turn even the hardest situations into stepping stones toward greater emotional strength. The more you practice this mindset, the more you build your emotional resilience. You begin to see challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles, and that shifts your entire emotional state. Building emotional strength also requires a commitment to self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to observe your own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment. It's about taking a step back and becoming the observer of your own experience, so you can better understand how your emotions are influencing your action. The more self-aware you are, the more control you have over your emotional responses. For instance, when you're in a tense situation, instead of reacting impulsively, you can observe yourself and recognize what's happening within you. Are you feeling anger, frustration, anxiety? Once you identify what's going on, you can make an intentional decision about how to respond. The practice of self-awareness allows you to catch negative thought patterns and emotional reactions before they spiral out of control. It also helps you identify your triggers, those situations or people that tend to push your buttons. When you're aware of your emotional triggers, you can start to develop strategies to avoid or better manage them. This heightened awareness gives you the power to take charge of your emotional state, leading to greater emotional strength. The best part is, self-awareness is a skill you can develop with practice. It's about taking time every day to reflect on your thoughts, your feelings, and your reactions. The more you do it, the more emotionally in tune you become, and the more resilient you'll be. Now let's talk about another transformative habit, setting boundaries. We all know the importance of physical boundaries. Whether it's respecting someone's personal space or knowing when to say no to a request. But emotional boundaries are just as crucial when it comes to building emotional strength. Emotional boundaries involve protecting your mental and emotional energy from being drained by others. This means knowing when to say no to people or situations that negatively impact your well-being. It means setting limits on how much emotional energy you give to others, especially if they are not reciprocating that energy. Setting healthy emotional boundaries is a form of self-care And it's one of the most empowering things you can do to protect your emotional health. It's about recognizing that you have the right to protect your peace and prioritize your emotional well-being. Whether it's limiting time with toxic individuals or saying no to situations that feel draining, setting boundaries helps you maintain emotional balance. And when you practice this regularly, you'll find that your emotional resilience increases. You'll be able to protect your energy while still being there for others when it truly matters. Another key habit to developing emotional strength is learning to forgive both others and yourself. Forgiveness is one of those habits that, while challenging, has the potential to transform your emotional landscape. When you hold on to anger, resentment, or guilt, you carry a heavy emotional burden. It's like carrying around a backpack full of rocks, each one representing a past hurt, a mistake, or an injustice. The weight of this emotional baggage drags you down, preventing you from moving forward. But when you choose to forgive, you release the weight of those rocks, allowing yourself to walk lighter and freer. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or forgetting what happened. It means choosing to let go of the emotional charge that binds you to the past. It's about freeing yourself from the hold that resentment or guilt has on your emotions. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful habits to cultivate emotional strength because it allows you to heal, to move on, and to reclaim your emotional freedom. And while forgiving others is important, don't forget the importance of self-forgiveness. We all make mistakes, but holding on to guilt only diminishes your emotional resilience. Forgiving yourself is an act of self-compassion and one of the most empowering things you can do for your emotional well-being. Finally, let's talk about the habit of perseverance. Emotional strength isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about facing them head-on and pushing through, even when it feels impossible. Perseverance is the ability to keep going, even when things get tough. It's about choosing to show up even when you're exhausted, overwhelmed, or discouraged. It's easy to give up when life gets hard, but perseverance is what keeps you going when everyone else might throw in the towel. It's the habit that says, "I will not quit no matter what." And with each obstacle you overcome, you become emotionally stronger. Perseverance is rooted in belief. The belief that you have what it takes to get through the tough times. The belief that you can overcome challenges, and the belief that setbacks are just stepping stones toward success. When you develop the habit of perseverance, you build emotional fortitude, the kind that keeps you moving forward no matter what life throws your way. And the more you persevere, the stronger you become, both emotionally and mentally. Keep pushing through, because each challenge is an opportunity to build your emotional strength. We've already covered many powerful habits that can transform your emotional resilience. But here's something I want to emphasize. Emotional strength doesn't just come from doing things. It's also about letting go of certain things. You've heard of the weight of the world, right? That's exactly what emotional baggage feels like. Every grudge, every past mistake, and every unprocessed emotion adds a layer to your emotional load. If you don't let go of them, they accumulate and weigh you down, preventing you from living free. The habit of letting go, whether it's emotional wounds, negative self-talk, or past failures, is absolutely essential to becoming emotionally strong. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or excusing what happened. No, it means releasing the emotional grip that those past experiences have on your life. You see, when you continue to hold on to anger or hurt, it's like you're keeping yourself tied to the past. Emotional strength comes from the ability to release these ties so you can move forward with clarity, confidence, and freedom. And this process of letting go isn't a one-time event. It's something you need to practice regularly. Every time you find yourself rehashing an old wound, remind yourself, "I don't need to carry this anymore." Over time, this habit of emotional release helps you feel lighter, more at peace, and more in control of your emotional landscape. One of the key habits that allow you to let go is learning the art of acceptance. Life doesn't always go the way we want it to, and sometimes things happen that we can't change. We've all experienced pain, loss, or disappointment, but how we respond to these events is what really matters. Acceptance is the practice of acknowledging the reality of a situation without resisting it. This doesn't mean you have to like it, or that you should resign yourself to it forever. It simply means acknowledging it for what it is, without the constant battle in your mind against. When we resist something, whether it's a painful emotion, a difficult situation, or an aspect of ourselves, we create more emotional turmoil. Resistance keeps us stuck in negative emotions like frustration, anger, or regret. But when we practice acceptance, we release the need to fight against reality, and instead we allow ourselves to process and move forward. Acceptance is one of the most powerful ways to build emotional strength, because it helps you stop wasting energy on things you can't control and focus on what you can change. Imagine how freeing it would feel to simply accept that not everything is under your control, and that's okay. That's the kind of emotional freedom that leads to greater strength. While we're on the topic of letting go, another critical habit in building emotional strength is self-compassion. It's incredibly easy to be hard on ourselves when things go wrong. We tend to focus on our flaws, our mistakes, and our shortcomings. But this constant self-criticism does nothing but weaken our emotional resilience. True emotional strength comes from treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to a close friend. Self-compassion is the practice of being gentle with yourself, especially in moments of failure or struggle. When you practice self-compassion, you acknowledge that you're only human and that making mistakes is part of life. You forgive yourself for not being perfect, and you give yourself permission to be flawed. This doesn't mean you let yourself off the hook for poor behavior, but it means that you allow yourself to learn, grow, and try again without beating yourself up. When you develop the habit of self-compassion, you stop punishing yourself emotionally, which frees up energy that can be used to build resilience, confidence, and self-worth. The more compassionate you are toward yourself, the more emotionally capable and strong you become. Connected to self-compassion is the habit of positive self-talk. Have you ever noticed the way you talk to yourself in moments of stress or doubt? If you're like most people, you probably don't say the kindest things to yourself. Negative self-talk is one of the most destructive habits to emotional strength because it reinforces feelings of inadequacy, fear, and insecurity. But the good news is that you have the power to change your inner dialogue. Positive self-talk is the habit of speaking to yourself with encouragement, kindness, and belief in your own abilities. The way you talk to yourself has a profound impact on your emotional state. When you speak to yourself with compassion and optimism, you cultivate a sense of self-worth and confidence that strengthens your emotional resilience. When you face setbacks, instead of telling yourself, "I can't do this," or "I'm not good enough," try saying, "This is tough, but I can handle it," or "I'm capable of learning and growing through this experience." Positive self-talk may seem small, but it shifts your mindset and strengthens your emotional resolve. It's a habit that turns negative thought patterns into opportunities for growth and emotional empowerment. Another habit to build emotional strength is embracing flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and things don't always go as planned. When we get attached to rigid expectations or outcomes, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The habit of flexibility means learning to roll with the punches, to adjust when life takes an unexpected turn, and to remain open to new possibilities. Flexibility isn't about giving up or lowering your standards. It's about being adaptable in the face of challenges. When you become more flexible in your approach to life, you allow yourself to adapt to the inevitable changes and uncertainties that come your way. Instead of getting stuck in frustration or resistance when things go wrong, you find creative ways to adjust and move forward. This habit fosters emotional strength because it teaches you not to cling to a fixed outcome, but to embrace the journey with all its twists and turns. Flexibility helps you stay calm, focused, and resilient even when life throws curveballs. Let's not forget the importance of physical health in emotional strength. There's a direct connection between your physical and emotional well-being. Your body and mind are intimately connected. Exercise, good nutrition, and sufficient sleep are fundamental habits that contribute to a strong emotional foundation. Physical activity, for example, releases endorphins, which are natural mood boosters. When you take care of your body, you're better able to handle stress, anxiety, and emotional challenges. You're more energized, more focused, and more resilient, both mentally and emotionally. Regular exercise also helps to regulate your emotions. It provides a natural outlet for stress and tension, allowing you to release pent-up emotions in a healthy way. Exercise also improves self-esteem, body image, and overall mood, all of which contribute to emotional strength. So if you want to build a strong emotional foundation, make your physical health a priority. Get moving, eat nourishing foods, and get plenty of rest. The stronger your body, the stronger your emotions will be. Another powerful habit to strengthen emotional resilience is setting meaningful goals. Having clear, purposeful goals gives you a sense of direction and motivation. It's easy to get lost or feel directionless when life feels uncertain. But when you set goals, you create a roadmap for yourself. Whether they're short-term or long-term goals, having something to work toward gives you a sense of purpose that anchors your emotional state. Goals provide you with a reason to push through challenges, and achieving them boosts your confidence and sense of accomplishment. The habit of setting meaningful goals helps you stay focused and proactive, even in the face of setbacks. It reminds you that no matter what obstacles arise, you have something to work toward. And every time you achieve a goal, big or small, you reinforce your emotional strength. You prove to yourself that you're capable of overcoming challenges and achieving success. So if you're feeling emotionally drained or defeated, take a moment to set a new goal. Having something to strive for will reignite your emotional fire and push you forward. Finally, let's talk about the importance of humor in emotional strength. Laughter truly is one of the best medicines for the soul. The habit of finding humor in difficult situations can help you navigate life's challenges with a lighter heart. Humor gives you the ability to see the lighter side of even the most stressful moments, reducing their emotional impact. It provides perspective and helps you avoid getting bogged down by negative emotions. When you laugh, you release tension and create a sense of emotional release, which makes it easier to face whatever comes your way. Humor also helps to shift your mind. When you can laugh at yourself or at a difficult situation, it breaks the cycle of stress and frustration, allowing you to approach life with greater emotional flexibility. So don't be afraid to find joy and laughter, even in the midst of challenges. It's an incredibly powerful habit that strengthens your emotional resilience and helps you stay calm and composed. No matter what, by now we've covered a significant amount of ground in building emotional strength. But there's one more critical habit that might be the cornerstone of all the others: the habit of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment without judgment. In today's world, it's easy to get lost in the past or worry about the future. We're constantly replaying our mistakes or anxiously anticipating what's to come. But emotional strength is rooted in the ability to stay grounded in the present, to fully experience each moment as it comes without being overwhelmed by external or internal distractions. Mindfulness is a tool that helps you cultivate emotional resilience, because it teaches you to observe your thoughts and emotions without getting swept up in them. When you practice mindfulness, you create a buffer between you and your emotions, which allows you to respond instead of react. For example, when something upsetting happens, instead of immediately reacting with anger or frustration, mindfulness helps you pause and take a breath. You observe what's happening inside of you and give yourself space to choose how you want to respond. This habit of mindfulness allows you to build emotional strength by reducing impulsive reactions and fostering emotional awareness. One powerful way to practice mindfulness is through meditation. Meditation gives you a chance to sit quietly, observe your thoughts, and let go of the clutter in your mind. It's like cleaning out your emotional closet, creating space for clarity and calm. And the beauty of meditation is that it can be done anywhere, whether you're sitting in a quiet room or waiting in line at the grocery store. By making mindfulness a daily habit, you start to develop an emotional resilience that comes from the ability to stay calm, centered, and fully engaged in whatever life throws your way. While mindfulness helps you stay present, it also teaches you how to embrace the ebb and flow of emotions. Emotions are not static. They come and go like waves in the ocean. The key to emotional strength is learning not to attach yourself to any one emotion. When you experience frustration, sadness, or fear, mindfulness reminds you that these emotions are temporary. You don't have to hold on to them. Instead, you can let them flow through you and move on. This non-attachment allows you to maintain emotional balance even when things feel chaotic. The more you practice this habit, the more you realize that no emotion, no matter how intense, has the power to control you. Now let's talk about another vital habit for emotional strength: practicing self-discipline. Self-discipline is the ability to control your actions, emotions, and thoughts in pursuit of a greater goal. Emotional strength doesn't come from simply reacting to life's challenges. It comes from having the ability to stay focused, determined, and resilient, even in the face of temptation or difficulty. When you're emotionally disciplined, you're able to stay on track and prioritize what really matters, even when the distractions and pressures of life try to pull you away. Self-discipline is particularly important in emotional resilience because it helps you stay grounded when emotions start to overwhelm you. For instance, in stressful situations, your first instinct might be to lash out in anger, retreat into sadness, or give up entirely. But with self-discipline, you can pause, assess the situation, and make a more thoughtful choice. You'll resist the urge to give in to negative emotions and instead take proactive steps to improve your emotional state. By building this habit of self-discipline, you're equipping yourself with the tools to handle life's challenges with grace, power, and control. One area where self-discipline is especially crucial is in managing your responses to stress. Stress is inevitable in life, but how you react to it makes all the difference in your emotional well-being. The habit of developing emotional self-discipline helps you control your reactions to stress by preventing you from making impulsive decisions. Instead of overreacting, panicking, or procrastinating, you learn to take a calm, deliberate approach. Whether it's taking a deep breath, walking away to clear your mind, or breaking down a large problem into smaller tasks, self-discipline allows you to maintain control and keep stress at bay. Over time, this habit will help you become more emotionally resilient, able to weather even the most challenging situations without losing your composure. Another powerful habit is the practice of seeking support when needed. Emotional strength doesn't mean doing everything on your own. In fact, one of the habits of emotionally strong people is knowing when to lean on others for help. No one can be emotionally strong all the time, and seeking support doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. We all have moments of vulnerability, and reaching out to others is a sign of emotional intelligence and self-awareness. When you ask for help, whether it's from friends, family, or a therapist, you're acknowledging that you don't have to carry your burdens alone. This habit allows you to release the pressure of trying to be strong all the time, and reminds you that it's okay to need support. Emotional strength doesn't come from isolation, it comes from connection. The more you practice reaching out to others when needed, the more you build a network of support that helps you navigate the highs and lows of life. In fact, research shows that people with strong social connections are more resilient to stress and emotional challenges. On that note, let's talk about the importance of learning to trust yourself. Emotional strength is deeply rooted in self-trust, the belief that you can handle whatever comes your way. When you trust yourself, you believe in your ability to make good decisions, to handle adversity, and to overcome challenges. Self-trust is the foundation of emotional resilience because it empowers you to face the unknown with confidence and certainty. When you trust your instincts and judgment, you're less likely to second-guess yourself or feel overwhelmed by fear and doubt. Building self-trust takes time, but it starts with small actions. Start by acknowledging your past successes and reminding yourself that you have overcome obstacles before. Trust that you have the tools and capabilities to navigate future challenges. Self-trust also means giving yourself permission to make mistakes and learn from them. When you trust yourself, you're not afraid of failure. You see it as an opportunity to grow. And this sense of inner confidence is what allows you to stay emotionally strong even in uncertain situations. Another critical habit to cultivate emotional strength is the practice of patience. In our fast-paced world, we want everything to happen quickly. Success, healing, change, but true emotional strength comes from being patient with the process. Healing takes time. Growth takes time. Life doesn't always unfold the way we expect. And learning to trust the timing of your journey is a powerful way to strengthen your emotional resilience. When you practice patience, you allow yourself the grace to move through difficult situations at your own pace, without rushing toward an end result. Patience helps you accept that things may not always go as planned, but that doesn't mean you're not making progress. Patience is especially helpful in times of personal growth. When you're working on becoming emotionally stronger, there will be setbacks. You'll have moments of doubt, frustration, or discouragement. But with patience, you can embrace the process of growth and understand that the road to emotional strength isn't linear. Every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal. When you practice patience, you give yourself permission to learn, adjust, and keep moving forward, without the pressure of having everything figured out right away. And this in turn increases your emotional resilience over time. Another key habit that goes hand in hand with patience is practicing acceptance of change. Life is constantly evolving, and as much as we might want to hold on to certain things, change is inevitable. Embracing change rather than resisting it is a powerful habit that builds emotional strength. Whether it's a change in your job, relationships, or personal circumstances, emotional strength comes from the ability to adapt and flow with the changes that life brings. Change can be intimidating, but it's also an opportunity for growth. Instead of fearing it, practice seeing change as a chance to learn something new, to become more resilient, and to build emotional flexibility. When you accept that change is a natural part of life, you can face new situations with a sense of curiosity and openness rather than fear or resistance. This acceptance of change fosters emotional strength by teaching you that you are capable of thriving in any environment, no matter how unpredictable it may be. As we conclude our journey through these powerful habits, I want to remind you that emotional strength is not something you're born with. It's something you build. It's a continuous evolving process that takes time, patience, and commitment. The habits we've discussed so far are just the beginning. Each one of them is a building block, helping you to create an unshakable foundation of emotional resilience. But there's one more essential habit that will complete this journey, the habit of gratitude. Gratitude might seem like a simple concept, but it has profound effects on your emotional well-being. When you practice gratitude, you train your mind to focus on what is good in your life, rather than what is lacking. This shift in focus is transformative because it creates an abundance mindset. Instead of seeing yourself as deprived or constantly chasing something more, you start to see the richness in your life, even in the midst of struggle. Gratitude allows you to appreciate the small moments, the smile from a stranger, the warmth of a cup of coffee, the feeling of a hug. These moments of appreciation add up, creating a sense of emotional balance and fulfillment. When you're grateful, you're also more likely to approach life with a positive, open-hearted attitude. Gratitude doesn't just affect your emotions, it changes the way you interact with the world. You become more present, more engaged, and more mindful of the people and experiences around you. It shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, making you more resilient in the face of adversity. And the more you practice gratitude, the more you realize how much power you have over your own emotional state. It's a reminder that no matter how challenging life may get, there is always something worth appreciating. The habit of gratitude also has a remarkable impact on your relationship. When you express gratitude toward others, whether it's thanking them for their kindness, appreciating their presence, or recognizing their contributions, you deepen your connection. Gratitude fosters a sense of warmth, empathy, and mutual respect, which are all essential ingredients for strong, emotionally supportive relationships. In turn, these relationships provide a solid foundation for your emotional resilience. So by practicing gratitude, you not only strengthen your emotional health, but also create a network of support that helps you navigate life's challenges. Another crucial habit to cultivate emotional strength is the practice of reflection. Taking time to reflect on your experiences, emotions, and actions allows you to learn from the past and improve your future. Reflection helps you gain clarity, identify patterns in your behavior, and recognize areas for growth. Emotional strength comes from being able to honestly assess your thoughts and emotions without judgment. When you take the time to reflect, you give yourself the space to grow and develop as a person. It's through reflection that you uncover the lessons hidden in both your successes and your failures. The habit of reflection encourages you to step back and observe your emotional responses to different situations. It helps you understand why certain events triggered specific emotions and how you can better handle them in the future. This practice allows you to become more self-aware, which is key to emotional growth. As you reflect on your experiences, you gain insight into what truly matters to you, what drives your actions, and what emotional patterns you want to break free from. This self-awareness strengthens your emotional resilience by giving you the tools to navigate future challenges with greater understanding and control. Next, let's talk about the habit of forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful practices for emotional strength, yet it's often one of the most difficult. We've all been hurt by others, and it's natural to feel anger, resentment, or even betrayal. But holding on to those negative emotions only keeps you stuck in the past. Forgiveness doesn't mean you condone the hurtful actions of others. It means you release the emotional grip they have on your life. By forgiving, you free yourself from the toxic hold of anger and allow yourself to move forward with peace. Forgiveness is a choice you make for your own emotional well-being. When you forgive, you stop allowing the actions of others to dictate your emotional state. It's an act of self-liberation. This doesn't mean that forgiveness is always easy or that it happens quickly. It's a process. But every step you take toward forgiveness is a step toward emotional freedom. As you practice the habit of forgiveness, you'll find that it becomes easier to let go of grudges and negative emotions, which in turn enhances your emotional strength. On the path to emotional strength, it's also important to recognize the role of emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries are the limits you set in relationships and situations to protect your mental and emotional well-being. Without healthy boundaries, you can become overwhelmed, depleted, or even taken advantage of. Learning to establish and maintain boundaries is a critical habit for emotional strength, because it empowers you to protect your peace and prioritize your emotional health. Boundaries are not about shutting others out. They're about creating a space in which you can protect yourself from negative influences, while still maintaining healthy, supportive connections. For example, if someone's behavior is consistently toxic or draining, setting a boundary might mean limiting your time with them or expressing your feelings in a clear, respectful way. By practicing emotional boundaries, you ensure that you are not giving away too much of your energy to people or situations that are emotionally harmful. This habit helps you build the strength to say no when you need to, creating emotional safety for yourself. Equally important to boundaries is the habit of self-empowerment. Emotional strength comes from knowing your worth and taking responsibility for your own happiness. This means acknowledging that you have the power to create your reality, regardless of external circumstance. When you take ownership of your emotions and actions, you stop relying on others to dictate your sense of well-being. You realize that you are the one in charge of your life, and that belief in yourself is a powerful force. Self-empowerment is the habit of recognizing your inner strength, even when the world around you may try to tell you otherwise. It's about cultivating a mindset that refuses to be limited by fear, doubt, or negativity. When you empower yourself emotionally, you stop waiting for external validation or approval. You learn to trust your own judgment, follow your instincts, and take action toward the life you want to create. This sense of personal power is a cornerstone of emotional strength because it enables you to remain grounded, confident, and resilient, no matter the obstacles in your way. Building emotional strength also requires the habit of focusing on solutions, not problems. It's easy to get stuck in a negative spiral of overthinking and rumination when things go wrong. But emotionally strong people are solution-oriented. They focus on what they can do to improve their situation, rather than dwelling on what went wrong. This mindset shift is incredibly empowering because it places the power back in your hands. Instead of feeling helpless or defeated, you begin to see opportunities for growth, problem-solving, and progress. When you focus on solutions, you take an active role in shaping your emotional reality. It's not about ignoring the problem or pretending everything is fine. It's about approaching challenges with the belief that there is always something you can do to move forward. This habit of focusing on solutions enhances your emotional strength by helping you stay proactive, optimistic, and confident, even in the face of adversity. You become a problem solver, not a problem dweller. Finally, the last habit I want to discuss is the practice of celebrating your progress. In the pursuit of emotional strength, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that there's always more work to be done, but it's equally important to recognize how far you've come. Celebrate your small victories, your growth, and the progress you've made on your emotional journey. Each step forward, no matter how small, is worth acknowledging. When you take time to celebrate your progress, you reinforce your belief in your own strength and resilience. Celebration doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can be something as simple as taking a moment to appreciate your effort. By making this a habit, you create a positive feedback loop, where you are constantly reminded of your ability to overcome challenges and continue growing. This practice keeps you motivated and connected to your emotional journey, encouraging you to keep building strength day after day.